What's going on, guys? It's Shadow bringing you guys some more locals gameplay. Um, this gameplay took place at Top Cut Collectibles in Berwyn. I'm facing a Doflamingo. They won dice. We're supposed to go first, so making me go second. They did not see a Prona, which is good for me, so they're gonna have to blind shoot if they do try. I end up playing a Sabo turn 2 just so that I can have it established there, just cause. And I end up taking the first swing, it being a Kuzan, which is fine. I have a turn 2 play. And they do find the 3-cost blocker Dofi, which on play allows you to look at the top 5 cards and rearrange it however you'd like. Honestly, this is a very niche tech card. I haven't really seen it in Dofi at all anymore. They just kind of go for the 4-cost consistency. So ends up passing the turn. I swing 5 at the Dofi to swing and clear. It ends up going. It doesn't bother protecting it. And I play out a Kuzan and draw 1. Basically plus 1s it, but I believe I drew into another Kuzan, which is not great. My hand's not looking too hot. Obviously, looks like Kuzan, Origo, and the Fist Luffy, which is good, and a Garp. Really just dependent on if I can have this Kuzan stick. In this matchup, it rarely does it just because of the bounce law. Bounce law, it can pretty much bounce anything in my in the BY except for Sabo. But he does play Jinbei into bounce law to bounce his own law to get rid of my Kuzan, which is okay. It's fine. I at least got a draw from it, so I'm up 1. He doesn't know what I have. But at this point, I'm in a range for pudding, which is not a great spot for me to be in. But I'm going to start with doing a Garp, and I end up finding a big Sabo. I end up grabbing big Sabo over everything else. Don't remember if I can grab anything, but I didn't have Sabo, so it's a piece that I can use with the baby Sabo that I have. And you do see there, not to flex the Gundam Beta kit, but I just got it from Boring Peanuts. I believe this was from Saturday. So I know you did see the vlog that day. I do play out Fist Luffy, and I decided to use his ability to trash the top card of my life. And it ends up being a Sabo. So if I would have used the baby Sabo that is on the field right now, I would have been able to buff myself up. But not only that, I did draw another Sabo. So now I have 3 Sabos that I can utilize. 2 in my hand, 1 in the trash, which is great. Have the pieces to fix my hand at this point. While also having this Fist Luffy to get myself down to be able to get myself to awaken early if I needed. But at this point, my opponent's thinking about what exactly to do, and I believe he wants to get rid of the Fist Luffy, because if he doesn't get rid of it, he's going to be swinging for 8k. And not only that, again, I can trash my own life and draw cards from it, so I can utilize it very well if needed. So he is going to end up red rocking the Fist Luffy, which kind of sucks. I mean, it is what it is. Still leaves me at 2 life. And did not swing with either Jinbei or Dofi. But I'm alright with it because I do have, I believe, an Egghead Luffy. If not, I'm looking for it. So yeah, there you go. I do find the Egghead Luffy off the Three Brothers Bond search. And I'm going to play that out just to pop the Jinbei and remove bodies off his field. So he can't put a lot of pressure on me. And right here, I contemplated on actually playing that Makino you just saw, to be able to grab a life and pretty much organize it. But I opt not to. I decided to just swing for 6. He ends up giving me 2 1Ks, and then I play the last Three Brothers Bond. And again, we're just looking for pieces that are needed. He did joke about me trying to find the Fist Luffy, which you do see there, but I opt to grab the baby Luffy, and I do this because I needed that so I can chain Egghead Luffy's out of life. Because if you don't have the baby piece, you definitely need to look for those. And you do see there, I believe I counted my cards. I had 5 cards that I can utilize in 4 bricks, which are the Kuzans, a Raigo, and I believe another Raigo. But I do have a beefy hand. If he was going to putting me, this was the best time to do it. I believe I had like 12 cards in hand, which is pretty crazy. So very lucky that he didn't see it. You do see there he does play Jinbei to Boa. Boa's going to give him a rest to Don. And then he's gonna contemplate whether to swing at me or not swing at me. He does have that choice to be able to swing off his leader, since he did just stack with the boa, so he knows what's in his light or in the top of his deck, so he could utilize leader ability to play it for free. And you're gonna see him contemplate over it, because he could hard play a 4 cost, or he could play off the top of deck. Him swinging at me, I'm definitely gonna take it. I'm not gonna counter out whatsoever. It gets me to the range to be able to awaken, and then we know I do have Makino in hand, but if I had anything else better to utilize to get there, it would be more in my interest to do so. Oh man, just yawned. But yeah, he's contemplating here. You're gonna see a couple cuts within later in the video, because he does take a little while to decide what he wants to do. I mean, I do put him in a pretty difficult spot. And he ends up playing a bounce law off his leader swing, bouncing my baby Sabo. And definitely a misplay on my part that I didn't notice, but the law should be rested off of the leader ability. Didn't catch it. Definitely did not notice it. I was more focused on what I was trying to do, because BY again is a very punishing deck if you don't know how to pilot it very well. So you gotta make sure you do it right. So I believe I'm going to start off with a Fist Luffy. Yep, Fist Luffy will trash the top life and draw me a card, which is Rago. Would have popped one of his bodies if he swung at it. But I do this to get myself to be able to awaken at this point. And I got to trash the... I believe I'm going to trash a brick here because I don't need it. I have the 2 cards in my trash already. So really just to put the Egghead Luffy into my hand. Or into my life. So I could pop the boa. So you do see I do get the leader buff of 2k, revealing the Luffy, pop the boa. And right here, I choose not to pop the boa because I forgot that this law should have been rested. So honestly, it would have been a boa pop. And then I would have attached it down and swung 10 at the law. But again, total misplay. I should have caught it. I do play a lot of Doflamingo, so how I didn't catch it, no clue. But I swing 10 at life. He ends up taking it. So right now, technically, the board should be clear at this point. But again, I didn't notice it. So that's why the boa is still there. I'm keeping myself at 1 life. And I'm doing this because if I go down to 0 life, there's a chance that he could just slap everything on and, you know, go for perfume. And try to just go 15 alive perfume. Or 16, depending if he swings with the boa, which is a total possibility. I've done it as a Doflamingo player and definitely won some games from it. But he ends up playing the 10-drop Kaido, which is a very good card to play as a Dofi player, because then it allows you to swing at BY with no issues. And then he's going to decide to pass turn. He's asking exactly how the BY ability works, but I guess he forgot that I'm kind of beefed up from the 2k, so he won't be able to swing at me with anything on his board. But he passes turn to me. Obviously, you see there, I do have the Kingdom Come, or Raigo is another way to call it. So I'm going to absolutely play the Raigo first to pop this Kaido. I do not want him to have this thing. So I pop the Kaido, and then now I'm going to play out the baby Sabo that I have in my hand to reveal the top ones. And then this allows me to cycle out. I'm going to cycle out the 2 Kuzans in my hand. So at this point, we're cycling out the stuff we don't need. And then I'm going to use the Luffy ability before I do my leader ability, so I can swing for 8k with the Luffy. And I believe he takes this hit. Doesn't block her out. I don't know exactly what he has in his hand, but he does have a decent sized hand after drawing 4 cards off the Kaido. I also used to love playing draw Kaido, but I grew to realize that the draw Kaido, I'm wasting the 4 cards I just drew off of it. So I started teching in the bounce Kaido, I believe from OP4, and I found it to be a little better, to be honest. And you see here, I do leader ability, chucking the Sabo, and I put the Sabo over the Luffy, and I do this because I believe that was my only Egghead Luffy, so I didn't want that to go to the bottom of the deck if he does decide to swing big. But he ends up blocking that time. And then you see that was one of the cuts because it took him a while to decide what he wanted to do. So ends up doing a gravity blade, getting rid of the Fist Luffy and the Sabo, which is a little unfortunate because then now there goes my pressure that I was pretty much establishing each turn. But it's okay. We're going to bounce back. 2 cards, 2 5 cost brothers in life. I do have a Gecko Moria. We're going to stay a 9k 2 life leader, which is what I want to be. But in order to do that, I do have to counter out of the 7k swing that he just set up. So ended up doing Teach, putting the Jinbei on the top, attaching the 2 Resodons to his leader. And then I believe he's going to set up Boa? No, a Gecko Moria. And I think he's going to grab a counter here. Yep, another Jinbei. So I'm going to give him a 1k, which is a Sabo, because I do need that Sabo in the trash. Just so that I can continue to do this loop. But mainly I wanted to stay at 2 life because now, look, the Moria is going to bring back both babies here. And I'm going to buff myself up. Yes, I don't get the draw off the Egghead, but I did not want to risk bottom decking the Egghead, which is how I was thinking about it. You see there, now I'm cycling out the bricks. And I'm not keeping Kingdom Come because at this point, I'm going to stay a 9k leader with 2 life. And if he wants to swing wide at me, he's going to have to attach Don on all of his characters, which more than likely would not happen. And here I decided to pop the Jinbei, which honestly the best choice would have been the Moria because then the Moria can't grab Moria itself. But I just popped the Jinbei because he could bounce Law. And it's something I did not want to do. And you see I do use leader ability to, again, cycle the Luffy and Sabo back to the top of life. This time the Luffy at the top because I'm not afraid of getting hit, especially with a blocker on board now. So I decided to swing 11 at life. And I do 11 at life instead of trying to board clear because at this point, again, if he wants to swing at my life, he's got to go wide. And then going wide takes a lot of Dawn and plays away from Dofi. So here, this turns a little awkward for the Doflamingo because he was kind of contemplating whether or not or what exactly he wanted to do. So he does Perona here, reorganizes his top 5, and then here he's going to opt to end up doing Red Rock to get rid of the Moria. I don't know exactly what he was trying to find at the top of his deck with the Perona. If he was going to do Red Rock, I would have just did Red Rock all on its own to get rid of the Moria right away. Or the Sabo, because he does contemplate doing Sabo or Moria, but the Moria is the better choice in my opinion because it's going to be swinging for 9k every turn. Blocker Sabo, yes, it can swing and I can recycle it and fix my hand, but why not take the pressure off the field? And you do see he ends up using Teach ability to attach 2 Dons to his leader, and this is where I say playing this Perona was kind of not it because now, you know, you technically wasted a Don when you could have just did the Red Rock, Teach ability, attach 3 Don and swinging for 10 and still did everything that he's doing. But here you see he does do the Jinbei to Moria. The Moria is going to grab the Jinbei again. So this is where I'm saying should have picked the Gecko Moria because then he wouldn't have been able to cycle the Jinbei again. Just food for thought on that though. And you're going to see that he's contemplating on whether or not to use a 1-drop. But ends up just passing turn. And at this point, I do have another Moria in hand. So I'm going to just chain the exact combo all over again. A-drop Moria, play out the baby Luffy and baby Sabo. The only 2 babies in my trash are absolutely putting work. So Luffy will reveal the Luffy, bump leader. And then Sabo will, you know, reveal and bump leader again to make myself a 9k. And you're going to see here I contemplate on whether to pop the Luffy to get rid of the board. But I decide not to do it because I could just keep the body on the field and then next turn just swing with everything and just, you know, put a lot of pressure on my opponent. And so I opt to not pop it and I just cycle out 2 Garps and then utilize my leader ability again. Cycling out, not cycling, but putting exactly what I need at the top of life. And you do see I end up finding another Egghead Luffy. So I set up the Egghead with another Sabo. And I believe I had 1 more Moria in hand. So I do swing at life for 11. And pass turn here. And I believe I cut it. Yep, so here he's just gonna play pudding. I did have like 8 cards in hand. No, 7 or 8, but still I had sculpted my hand enough to just be able to do whatever I wanted to do for the rest of the game. So this pudding does happen, and unfortunate for my opponent that he found the pudding at this late in the game, because it would have been absolutely beautiful when I had 13 cards in hand. But regardless, this pudding actually didn't hurt too much, so I did end up finding another Moria. And then you see here he just decides to swing big, attaching all the Don on my leader, and I think I just end up giving him a blocker Sabo. It didn't matter to me. If he didn't have as much counter, or if he was able to counter out of a lot of these swings, I would have just did another Moria buff. But I'm gonna just poking with the Luffy, poking with Sabo, swinging with Moria gives me a lot of counter, and then I just attach it all on leader and end up winning the game. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought of the match, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.